Hey guys, in the last tutorial we looked at get elements by ID. So before that we learned how to use the console to log messages in the Chrome DevTools, and this sounds good, but the problem that we have here is that now that we know how to access elements from our HTML documents here, anytime we want to manipulate or modify them in any way, we always have to refer to that whole to document.getElement by ID and passing the ID again. Now this is not so long, but that's not a very good programming practice, especially if you have a lot of elements that you need to access. You don't want to write document.getElement by ID all the time. You don't want to query and look for IDs or access them using your scripts in that manner all the time. So you want to make sure that you use variables so that you can simply refer to that variable name and perform whatever manipulation or modification that you want to do to your HTML elements. So that's the point of this video. What is a variable in the first place? So I'm going to write something quick here. Okay, so now let me open the browser. I'm going to use the live server functionality from within Visual Studio Code. In this paragraph here, we had this line of text. Hello, this is an identified element on the page. So that's what we see here. This is the HTML document, the HTML file, if you want, index.html loading right here. So what you see here is I have this paragraph variable here, and it's now pointing to that element here. I have access to that paragraph. So remember, in the last video we had this line of text. Hello, this is an identified element on the page. So now that I've loaded this using the live server functionality, I can see this line of text here in my browser. I want to log this variable here in the DevTools in my browser's console. Alright, so let's see what this returns. You can see that now I have access to this paragraph elements, and that is something you already know from the last video. But the cool thing here is that I don't have to refer to that exact command all the time. I can simply use my variable, and you know, this is a better way of memorizing and even reading through your code using variables. So I can now use the variable to access that element here, that's p elements. So remember, in the previous video we were able to do document.getElements by ID. I had hey here, and then I was able to use the append method to add text content to that paragraph. Well, you can still do that, because when you are using a variable, whatever you assign it, the value, okay, here we are using that method, it will return that object here, and we can now apply or use whatever methods, or in other words function, that we want on that variable here. So I can say paragraph, and I want to make sure that you guys can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so paragraph dot append, I am appending alright, and now check what happens here. Whatever I typed here still appears, although I use the paragraph variable. I didn't use this like I did in the previous video, and that's because this is now the paragraph. Notice the equal sign I've used here. So the question remains, what exactly is a variable? Well, a variable is basically a location in your computer's memory. Alright, so you store data, single data, inside a variable, and that variable is actually a location in the memory that you can then refer to. So eventually I can now say paragraph equals 1 2 3 4, for instance. Now check this out. Inside the console, in the console, when I logged paragraph, I now have 1 2 3 4, because that's what the paragraph is now storing. It's storing that string 1 2 3 4. So in actual fact, in that location of memory that paragraph is pointing to, the data stored is 1, 2, 3, 4. So location addresses are very complex. The naming convention is nothing like what you see here. And if you want to refer to data over and over again in your program or in your scripts, you have to use variables to simplify things. Okay, so in the real world, you can look at it that way. When you have a phone number, it can be pretty long. So let's say you had something like 555 555 000. Okay, now let's say you have someone called James. This is James' number. Okay, I'm going to write it that way. James number. This is 555. So if you want to tell your friends, let's say called John, hey John, can you call James? You're not going to tell John, can you call 555 and 555 over and over again, right? Same thing if you had a colleague called Mary and you want Mary to give that phone number to John, you wouldn't tell Mary give 555-555-0 to John. You would just tell Mary give James's number to John. Now remember, this is the value stored in James's number. James's number refers to that sequence of numbers. So in Mary's brain, this number, all right, she can refer to it. She knows that she has to refer to that number as James's number. So in our brain, actually, we use variables all the time. All right, we have data stored in our brain in different locations, and we can easily retrieve them or access them or reference them using names, variable names. So it's all about reference, okay, and it makes things easy and more efficient. So that's basically what a variable is, and not just in JavaScript, in programming in general. You will see that variables, that's basically what they are. They just refer to a location in memory that has some data stored, all right, and you can easily access that data using the variable name, and then you can perform whatever changes or whatever that you want to do by applying methods or properties and assigning new values to that variable. So there's more to it, but in this video I just want you guys to grab that concept. So it's just like in real life. You have something, a piece of data, and then you want to refer to it using a name. So whenever you mention that name or you write that name, you know that you're actually referring to whatever value that it stores. Alright, so I hope this clears whatever confusion you have, and in the next video we'll advance on this topic and look deeper into variables.